we got tight ends coach Blaine Stewart. Questions for Coach Stewart?
So, Blaine, just give us a quick overview of your position, what the tight ends look like through the spring. We know Cole's not going, but what's everybody else doing?
Yes, sir. Well, obviously, yeah, Cole, coming off of rehab, he's doing really well. But in terms of everyone else, we've really used this spring as a spring of growth. Obviously, that message has been set by the head coach about, getting better in incremental ways across the board. So, everyone's been trying to get some reps, and we've really just been trying to take a stride individually and then therefore collectively. So, guys are working hard. We're not really changing much of our schematics. We're going normal install first and foremost, which has been great. And, guys are just trying to get better daily and just finished number 10. So, got a couple more opportunities, but it's going quick. So we're happy where we are, but there's still a lot of work to do, obviously.
What areas work to do? What if you could have a magic wand and say, this is where we need to be better?
Yes, sir. Magic wand, I think collectively we just got to grow in terms of guys finding roles on the team. I've touched on that before. I think, Traylon Davis, for example, trying to increase his role. Now he's getting a lot more opportunity to shine in the pass game as opposed to just, kind of being the point of attack blocker. Young guys like Will Dixon and Noah, their biggest thing is just proving that they're ready to compete at a high level this fall. So their growth is being measured differently, and that's more overall preparation for the fall. Jack, high school senior, early enrollee, he's kind of, taking it all in, and he's been eager and willing, and his thing is just hitting the ground running, trying to match what the older guys know. He's playing catch up, but that's fine. Everyone's on their own path. So overall, I would just say continuing to improve in certain things that guys can find a role this fall. That's the biggest thing we're looking for, is just proving that you're ready to help us.
You've got some that are good pass catchers. You've got some that are good blockers. Who's the most well-rounded right now?
Right now, Traylon Davis is in an excellent spot physically. He's made some plays down the field. I'm not sure if you guys were at practice in the stadium a couple weeks ago. Man, he probably had, 6 or 7 catches, which would have basically doubled last year. So Traylon's in a good place. Overall, a guy like Will Dixon has great physical skills. So I would say, he's probably the most well-rounded in terms of size, the ability to run and stretch the field, the ability to play strong. So those are two that come to mind right off the bat.
You'll say it was a big spring for Will. Have you seen what you wanted to see out of his development so far?
Yeah, for sure. Will knows, it's kind of time to grow going into his third year, just his second spring ball. But Will's biggest thing is being able to play multiple positions. A guy like Will, to help us this fall, has to be able to play, 11 personnel tight end. He's got to be able to play 12 personnel both tight ends, be able to play numerous spots in that. So, Will's taken a step. There's still plenty of next level execution, I call it. Will can get on the board and draw any play, but we got to make sure that in all young tight ends that when that picture changes as of a defense, that the intricacies of the why. And Will has started to show that, and it's only getting better throughout spring.
What is the hump for young tight ends to get over to where they're ready to play?
First, you got to know what to do always. That's the you got to get off the bus knowing what to do. And then second, it's the confidence to execute no matter who you're going against. When a high school senior, true freshman, gets thrown in the fire and has to block Sean Martin on the goal line, like happened this weekend, there's some trial by error there. But I think the biggest thing is understanding your job and executing it at a high level regardless of what the defense does. And really, Traylon touched on it last week, kind of that welcome to college football moment. When the picture changes or it's not the look you anticipated, still being able to execute, that's when a young tight end is ready.
What do you ask Cole Taylor to do? Obviously, he's limited in practice stuff, but I'm sure classroom, things like that. What are you working with Cole on?
Cole and I are on a very individualized plan, and we have been since January. I think the biggest thing for him is maximizing his physical his physical development as much as he can push himself, and that starts in numerous phases. That starts with the training staff, that starts with the strength staff, that starts with nutrition and really taking care of his body. He's doing a good job pushing that and being ahead of schedule, I would say, on his rehab. And then in terms of classroom work, we are studying what he did last year. We're studying what we want to, kind of take to the next level in terms of schematics and skill set added to his disposal. We're studying guys. We're studying former college tight ends that have came out and been successful earlier in their NFL career, like Trey McBride out of Colorado State and Laporta, who's now with the Detroit Lions. So we're studying guys, and my biggest thing for him is like, look, when you put senior film out there, this is what it needs to look like, because those guys have obviously been very successful at the next level early in their career, and that's his goal, and that's my goal to prepare him for the next level. And we're really trying to maximize classroom time, walkthrough time, doing some individual on the side, during special teams or whatever period that may be, pushing him and really emphasizing the things we want, taking his receiving ability to the next level, but also, being more stout in the run game. And that starts with flexibility, which he's improved. That starts with, mobility, being able to play with the lower base. Because, it's no secret that 6'7" guys, no matter who you are, you got to be able to bend. So we're trying to take that to the next level. But Cole's on a great trajectory to come back here whenever that clearance comes and help us and have a great summer. That's our goal.
How much did your time with the Steelers, seeing what they do with the tight ends, and that influence what you're doing now and what you're incorporating in this?
I think that shows last year. We really did incorporate the tight end, and that was kind of, when I sat here a year ago, it was kind of trust that we were going to do so. And I wouldn't say it was specific to my time in Pittsburgh, but general football. Coach Brown is big on professional development, so we've studied college offenses, pro offenses. Like I said, I've individually studied tight ends. So we're trying to just take what fits our current system and how we can apply it to not only the tight end position, but also the overall just skill positions that can help us schematically and put our guys in a position to be successful and let their God-given gifts take over from there. But we have studied, numerous levels, whether it's people in college are doing a good job, or NFL teams, or specific cut-ups that we've studied. We're taking a general approach and kind of trimming it down to what fits us.
Tight ends depend on who they are and what their skills are, or do you try to fit them to what you want them to do?
That's a great question. I would say first and foremost, it's got to fit the overall offensive philosophy, and then yes, it does. Certain guys are going to be asked to do certain things, but when you've got a guy like Cole who can do what he can do, general football for us, you got a guy like Traylon Davis who's a really strong point of attack guy. I got to be better about trying to get him involved in the pass game. But we just try to fit guys, and it's no different than running backs with their skill set, receivers with their skill set. We're trying to put guys in position to help us, whatever their God-given abilities are, that we can maximize as a total offense.
The goal then is to get a tight end out there that doesn't predict what you do.
Correct.
It comes back to the well-rounded part, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well-rounded, and we were very thoughtful last year with our self-scout, trying to not be predictable. Now, if it's 3rd and 9 and we got 11 personnel with one tight end in the game, it's probably going to be Cole Taylor. But on 1st and 2nd down, we were trying to be very, very unpredictable with who we're asking to do what and our sequence of motion. So we're always trying to camouflage that as an offense. But I would say the more guys that can do more things football-wise, it just makes you a better offense and less predictable, as you mentioned.
16 months ago, whatever it happened to be. So what have you learned in that time, leading your own room, recruiting, all those things in the college game that maybe you didn't have to do in the professional level?
Yes, sir. So first and foremost, I think the biggest thing is time allocation. Last year, I was kind of the new guy on staff, so I was hitting the ground running with trying to get the guys ready for practice. Like you said, maintain those recruiting relationships, try to get top guys on campus for spring ball. I think the biggest thing I learned is just time allocation, and there's never enough time in the day, so you got to be efficient with what you do. And I think I've grown in that area. I felt way more comfortable this January recruiting than I did last year. I know I only got out a couple days last year before the dead period started, but really excited for May. I've got a lot of plans with the recruiting staff lined up for our May. General, obviously area recruiting first and foremost, tight end recruiting. Trying to get things set up for official visits and things of that nature. I think I've grown in numerous ways, and that's just being put in the position. Until you're really in it, you don't know what's the important thing. But now I have a good feel of kind of where we need to be on a calendar basis, where I should ask our guys to be in terms of football, in terms of install, in terms of just growth throughout the spring. And I do feel more comfortable this year.
You mentioned time allocation. That's kind of interesting because a lot of pro coaches come back to college and they find, whoa, we don't have the time we thought we had with them. Whereas before, in the pros, you had more time. I don't know if it's unlimited time. So I guess you have to kind of work smarter, don't you?
Yeah, you definitely have to work smarter. These guys still have class at 1 o'clock, which is a great thing. So, I got to be efficient with my time. I got to be efficient with what I'm asking them to do, what I'm asking them to, do outside of this building in terms of preparation for not only football, but, they got a lot going on. We got the elite climbers that are busy, that are doing business proposals, and guys are in grad school. So I would just say, it's still football, but the biggest thing is I got to be efficient with what I'm asking them to do because, there's a lot going on outside this building, which in any profession, people got their personal lives, but we got to make sure that when I have a 40-minute position meeting, I'm not wasting any bit of that time. I got to recap whatever the previous day was, get ready for today, and then, show enough film that we can go out and execute, which, I feel like we're doing a really good job as a total staff of, not over installing, but really putting our guys in position to be successful and build it. So by the time we come out of the spring, we have a whole bank of things to look back on and then prepare for throughout the summer.
How hard is it to find someone that checks all the boxes? Size, speed, strength, catching ability, the tight end has to do, and how much competition does basketball and power forwards give to narrow that field down?
I would say we do love dual sport athletes, and that's one thing. When I was with the Steelers, that was a major point of emphasis. That numerous guys that have been drafted by the Steelers were dual high school sport athletes. So I love when a guy plays basketball. I think it's a great way to evaluate too. There's competition, there's body movements, there's leadership ability. So I love evaluating dual sport athletes. I would say, there's not a lot of ready-made tight ends available in at any level. You look at major college, you look at Group of Five, you look at FCS, and then you look at the NFL. There's only a handful of guys that are the ready-made, freaky, show up day one, ready to go products. So there's projection out there, there's development out there, and that's why numerous things, skill development, off-season training, all those are so important because you look at the landscape of high school football, there's very few ready-made guys that are going to show up a day one starter. But there's a ton of guys out there that have developed in the right system. You could take a guy that by the time he's going into his second or even third year, he's going to be a hell of a player. So we just got to do a good job projecting, developing, and then retaining once they're here.
Like a Dr. Frankenstein putting a tight end together?
Yes, sir. There's different guys. You can take a big kid out of high school that may already be 250 pounds and reshape his body, or sometimes there's projections on 210-pound guys that he's got the frame to hold the weight, or there's a guy that's a receiver right now that's going to grow into a tight end. So there's numerous body types, and you're right. It's kind of finding a needle in a haystack of casting a big net and hand picking select guys that are going to come fit your program and be ready to go by the time their number's called, whenever that time is.
What do you see on Noah Brand?
He's done an excellent job in terms of understanding the playbook, understanding what we're kind of asking his body type to do. Obviously, he's playing all the tight end positions right now, but I see him as a guy that can model his game after Traylon Davis and really be a move tight end for us. Flex out in the slot, play what we call in the hip position off the tackle, move around, be in motion at the snap. He's done a really good job. You can see his athletic skill set show from when he was asked to play basically every position at University High School. He's doing good. It's crazy, a year goes by quick. He hasn't even been here a full calendar year yet. He was playing high school baseball this time last year, so his best football is in front of him. He's gained weight. He's north of 240 in terms of weight, so that'll continue to go up, and the more he gets comfortable gaining that weight and playing physical, that's the big thing I want from him, is I want him to be a hammerhead and really take that, off the ball tight end that runs counter, that runs split zone, and really sets the point of attack for us. I think he's done that, and I think he'll be able to do that for us for numerous years moving forward.
You mentioned growth with yourself. You talked a little bit about recruiting. That was very new for you. So what did you learn with that? What were the hard pieces when you had to go on the road and recruit?
I think recruiting's a lot like people relationships. So I feel comfortable, being able to go and talk in front of a high school coach, and it's unbelievable how many connections there are out there. I'm walking into a high school in rural North Carolina, and there's a high school coach that pulls out a letter from my dad from 2009, and he was an assistant coach. He wasn't even on my list, and we got to talking. He was like, "Hey man, look at this letter." He used to come up here to retreats when he was in Southern Virginia. So things like that are unbelievable. So the relationships that I've tried to build and cultivate over the last year have been good, and I'm thankful for those opportunities to have connections with a big network that I'm fortunate to have in coaching or whatever. I think a big thing is finding a way to never take no for an answer, like trying to get a guy on campus. I learned I need to be the aggressor. You'd rather them say, "All right, coach, like we get it," as opposed to being too passive. So I definitely had to flip that mindset of, if a kid can't come this weekend, well, I need to press a little bit more and really try to go through the coach or a trainer in the area and really find a way to push myself in recruiting. Recruiting is not a passive game, and I learned that very quickly. So the growth in recruiting has been great. I think one thing that's been awesome is the areas that I have. I have connection with my Virginia and Western Maryland from my time at James Madison and playing schools like Martinsburg, and played baseball against Jefferson numerous times in high school. Western PA that I'm in now, have great relationships there from my time in Pittsburgh, from people I know. Like I got a buddy that played at certain high school in Western PA. Well, I'm going to tell the coach that, and then it kind of lets his guard down. And he's like, "All right, I'll take care of this guy." So, and then going up to Buffalo, Rochester, New York, building relationships up there through former Mountaineer alumni. I feel good about that. My time in Indianapolis, I feel like, you throw a dart in the Indianapolis schools, I know somebody that's connected to the program, whether that's a former Steelers coach or, Pat McAfee or whatever. So I try to use every recruiting connection I can get to get my foot in the door and get a kid on campus and show them once they're here that, man, West Virginia is a heck of a place to be, and you can achieve anything you want to in these walls.
Blaine, did you have a welcome to college football moment?
That's a great question.
As a coach?
That's a great question. When you are playing in front of 110,000 people at Penn State and you're on the silent count, and the first play of the season is 2 tight ends trying to block a first-round pick, yeah, that's a welcome to college football moment, We ended up gaining about 8, so I took a deep breath, and then it just became football. But that was a welcome to college football moment. One thing I learned, too, is, you always got to have a plan B. Cole had a minor injury that made him miss a couple plays against Texas Tech, and, there's plays for Cole in the game, and, we still got to go execute. So making sure guys are ready, that was a welcome to college football moment. Recruiting, when you think you got a kid lined up for an official visit and then he calls you 48 hours before, that's a welcome to college football moment that he wasn't coming. So, there's always growth. And I would just say, I'll still probably have some welcome to college football moments. It's never ending, but it's been a great journey, and I'm just fired up and thankful, and going to be just as eager as I ever was going into full year number 2.
One more recruiting, just the quantity of people you all targeted and tried to get here. I understand that, but it's not like they all fit into one canister. They're different sizes, abilities, I'm assuming, too. How much of that is what you're talking about, where you might not have an ideal that's ready to hit the ground as a finished product, but he starts at this and you can add that, or he starts at that and you can add this? Like, there has to be something, I don't know if it's a core, but there has to be like a foundation you can build off of to get toward the all-around.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So the biggest thing I would say with that is there are non-negotiables to the position. Size is one, athletic ability. Now, there may be different, levels of athletic ability, right? But just looking at this last class, Jackson Marco, we needed a big human being. So when I'm recruiting, if they didn't check the initial boxes of the size we needed for the on-the-ball tight end that was our goal to sign in this class, there could be great players that didn't really fit that. So I would say it all comes back to the vision of what you're trying to get in a class. It's no different than an NFL draft. If you got a guy in Pittsburgh like Pat Freiermuth, well, you drafted Darnell Washington to be his complement, right? They go really well together in their matching skill sets to combine for a great tight end room. So that's key right now in our recruiting. I kind of tier them into different categories, big human being that has athletic ability, best football player available. You know, we may give up an inch of size and maybe 10 pounds of weight, but if he's dynamic with the ball in his hand or he's explosive, you know, he'll be in that category. And then it comes down to pairing up, you know, the finished product of what you want a recruiting class to look like. So I think there are non-negotiables of the position that everybody's got to check a certain box, and then from there you kind of tier different guys into, all right, this is our big group that we're recruiting. This is our kind of smaller guys that we envision becoming this category, and go from there. You know, it's all about the individual player and how they fit in our program and vision.
You doing fullbacks?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we got some fullbacks going on.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about Colin McBee.
So I would say Traylon Davis, first and foremost. You know, if we lined up there and threw a couple extra linemen in and it was a big goal line set, Traylon Davis, like we had 2 fullbacks last year with Luke and Traylon. Traylon will still have some fullback in his game, and we're trying to add to that. But Colin McBee has done an excellent job. He's done a good job really knowing 3 positions. He can play tight end in certain personnel groups. He plays fullback when we go tight end and a fullback sets. And he's also, you know, played running back before from his background, his freshman year with Coach Scott. So Colin's done a great job. I think he's going to find a role similar to Luke Hamilton. You know, I don't want to put a number on his snap counts this year, but I would feel very comfortable with Colin's ability to go in specific, you know, down and distance packages, whether it be 3rd and short or on the goal line, and have the ability to run the lead blocking like we asked Luke Hamilton to do last year. They're very similar. And Colin's still a young guy. I feel like everyone loves him, and that makes me think he's been here forever. No, he's still a young guy too. So he will only continue to get better. He's excellent in the weight room. He's a smart young man. He's a great kid, and he's well liked. So, you know, we got to find a role, and I got to make sure I push for a role for Colin McBee, and I'm excited about him.
Regards to Traylon, how do you know, or I guess how do you feel like you know when a guy is ready to take on a bigger role as a receiver when he hasn't had much opportunity to do so?
Yes, sir. I would say the first thing that I noticed coming off the bowl game this year when we were back in January is his development with his body physically. He's really dedicated himself, and that was one of the things we talked about in January. You know, he's always kind of been the you know, big, strong, you know, love his physicality. But if he wants to take that next step, we work with our nutrition staff. There's a recomposition process of his body, and he did that. He didn't lose any weight, but his body fat went down by about 3%. And you see it in the winter drills of change of direction, and you're like, all right, Traylon's moving pretty good. So with Cole out, when we put 1 tight end on the field, you know, Traylon's the first to take the ball this spring. So I'm like, hey, let's go. And I'm the type of guy that I'm going to have to be proven that someone can't do something as opposed to put him in a box. So we've tried to put him in spots, and, you know, he's done well. He's taken steps. There's definitely things he's seen that he's like, okay, I need to improve on this. And he feels that throughout the spring. And I just think putting him in a position to show it as opposed to say he can't do it is one thing I got to do as a coach, and that's been my goal for him. But he's done the work, and now it's just, you know, reaping the benefits and taking it to the next level.
All this conversation about players maybe growing into different roles or positions, where does TJ Johnson kind of figure into? I know he's a receiver now, I guess, but is he definitely a receiver? Could he be a tight end in the future, or is it TBD?
No, TJ's doing a great job. He has the flexibility to play both. He's played some outside receiver, some inside receiver. Still, he's weighing a good bit. I'm not sure exactly where he's at, but he could, if we got in a pinch, come back to tight end. But right now, TJ's just focused on doing a good job and trying to find a role, whether that be outside or inside. And we'll take the tight end play if we would need it. But he's doing an excellent job as a receiver right now for Coach Marshall.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.